Hello, welcome to Notes on History. I'm Paul Stetzel. Today, I'm going to talk about one of my other rules of history. I think this is an important one to get out of the way early on because I'm going to get questions about it if I don't, and so I want to address it now. If you watched my video of Rule of History number 1, you may have noticed I used the term BC and AD. If you didn't, you either didn't watch that video or you grew up before those terms went out of style. If you noticed it, let's talk about rule number 2, a rule of great importance to not just understanding history, but an excellent life lesson. Rule number 2, don't care about your feelings, and believe it or not, you might not either. The use of dating systems based on the birth of Jesus has become unpopular among historians in recent decades because they're typically replaced with CE or BCE. Historians who have made the switch have done so because they wish to be more inclusive and religiously neutral. I do not follow this trend, not because I wish to push a religious agenda on people when they're looking the other way. I really don't. I don't follow the trend because usually the use of CE and BCE is, to put it politely,
pure weapons-grade baloney.
There are several ingredients in this recipe for politically correct mule fritters. I will take them one at a time, but in no particular order. The terms CE and BCE are often meant to mean Common Era and before the Common Era. Well, common to what? If you look up Common Era on Wikipedia, there's a reference to the earliest use of the term in English in the year 1708. And as near as I can tell, by the way, that does seem to be the earliest. If you can find an earlier use of the term in English, please let me know. I really legitimately would like to see it, just because I like to know these things. That Wikipedia article links to the text of a book called The History of the Works of the Learned, and it appears to be using the term Common Era to mean that time frame common to the Christian society in which the book was published. If someone watching this is more familiar with that work than I am and disagrees, also please let me know that as well. Historians sometimes use the term to mean Christian era, and they're at least acknowledging that the numbering of years is derived from an admittedly sloppy rendering of a specific religious event, and they're not shying away from the importance of religion in society over millennia. Number 2, the use of CE and BCE is not a genuine attempt to be a neutralization of religious affiliation, but specifically of Christianity. Do you disagree? Perhaps we could discuss that next Tuesday, or Wednesday, or Thursday, or Friday. Are you still unsure? Your use of the terms January, February, March, April, May, and June would seem troubling then. If this was an attempt to be religiously neutral, it is a selective and inconsistent one. Number 3. You may say that while there are many Christians in the world, you have never known anyone who worshipped the pagan gods of the Germans or the pantheon of Roman gods. Granted. But you do know that there are plenty of people in this world right now who promote strong centralized government at the expense of individual liberties or the rights of local communities. Yet you continue to throw around terms like July and August like it's going out of style. Am I to infer that you're in favor of dictatorship? Totalitarianism and authoritarianism are real threats in the 21st century, especially those who would seize unconstitutional power in the name of populism or popular welfare, much as Caesar and Augustus did. If being offended is an argument, as it does seem to be in the year 2018, I am much more offended by someone who ham-handedly promotes dictatorship than I am by a guy who wanted us to love our neighbors. Fourth, let's be clear. Using AD does not mean you are accepting Christianity any more than saying August is a celebration of tyranny. I have to wonder how many people who insist on using CE and BCE are aware that the creation of AD and BC was meant not just to celebrate Jesus. Even if you are anti-Christian because of what others have done in his name, you have to admit that Jesus himself was a pretty darn good guy. AD and BC were also meant to be subversive of the tyranny and persecution perpetrated by an actual monster named Diocletian. In the year 525 AD, a monk named Dionysius sent a bishop by the name of Petronius his own calculations regarding the dating of Easter. And this table is where he came up with the dating system that we use, although I will say it actually wouldn't be commonly used for a couple hundred more years. In the letter explaining his calculations, Dionysius said this: "But because St. Cyril began his first cycle from the 153rd year of Diocletian, and besides ended in the 247th, we, starting from the 248th year of the same tyrant, a better word than prince, do not wish to bind to our circles the memory of this impious man and persecutor, but choose rather to count the time of the years from the incarnation of our Lord Jesus Christ, so that the beginning of our hope will appear better known to us, and the cause of the restoration of mankind, i.e. the passion of our Redeemer, may shine forth more clearly." You can find a translated copy of this letter on tertullian.org. You can find the actual link right down here. Special thanks to Michael Deckers, who placed this in the public domain back in 2006. Now, Diocletian gets a lot of credit from historians for saving the Roman Empire. My own opinion is that he is highly overrated, and even if he could be credited with ending the crisis of the 3rd century, he was still a very, very bad man. So, if you can't bring yourself to use AD and BC because you don't like Jesus, maybe you can use it just to stick it to the man. Remember, if you like this video, please be sure to like Notes on History on Facebook and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Of course, you can also leave family-friendly comments below. I know, that's 3 different things for you to do. I'm awfully demanding. And of course, please be sure to visit notesonhistory.org. In addition to posting about historical topics, I'm also a professional genealogist, and notesonhistory.org is where you can go to commission assistance with your family research project. Thanks for listening.